Welcome to this video presentation of the astrology of the assassination attempt on Donald Trump. In this video, I will review the astrology of the recent planetary movements that coincide with the assassination attempt on Donald Trump. This presentation will demonstrate what is commonly known as a horoscope, or astrology as a predictor of potential events, challenges, or even opportunities in one's life. Had Donald Trump consulted me or any professional astrologer prior to this campaign event, he would have scheduled it on a different date or not at all. In this presentation, I will demonstrate and explain why. I'm Altazar of Altazar Astrology, and I have been a professional spiritual astrologer for over 35 years. And I am posting my contact information here for take a moment here to do so. Okay, so if you are interested in my services, please review my website as listed there and call or email me to schedule a free introductory reading. You'll note my email address, altazarastrology@gmail.com, and also contact information is on my website. There is no cost or obligation for the free introductory reading. And the point is for us to get acquainted and to see if either of us agree that I can be of service for your issues or concerns. So I'll leave that up just for another moment. But before I display the astrology chart of Donald Trump and reveal the planetary sign positions that clearly indicate the potential for violence on July 13th, I will first explain what is a horoscope or astrology prediction. Your astrology birth or natal chart is your spiritual report card in the school of life. It is a snapshot of the planetary zodiacal sign positions that existed at the moment of your birth, revealing your karma, or, as we would say, the gifts and talents, as well as negative proclivities in your attitudes, beliefs, and behaviors that you bring into this life from your past lifetime. Over the course of your life, the planets move through the signs, and at various times, when in alignment with the planets in your birth chart, activate potential events, challenges, and/or opportunities related to your karma or character, healing, or development. So a horoscope is when a skilled astrologer determines and describes when a planetary sign position is in a particular angular alignment with a planet sign position in your natal chart, which can be interpreted then as portending a particular event, challenge, or opportunity in your life. However, it is not a predictor of fate or a definitive event. The possibility of a positive or negative outcome is a function of a person's free will consciousness and whether their approach or response is in alignment with the positivity of their soul growth and the favorable well-being of the world at large. So at this time, I'm now going to remove my contact information and bring up the astrology chart for Donald Trump. So I am going to bring up the astrology chart for Donald Trump. That's his birth or natal chart as we all have them and are uh, the foundation for all the types of astrology readings that we do. And then also, this is a chart you will see on the screen, two charts, one of Donald Trump's birth or natal chart based on his birth date, time of birth, and location of birth, which allegedly is accurate. And the chart on the other side is what we have and use as a foundation chart for any kind of horoscope for a particular date. And for example, let's say a client contacts me and says they would like to travel to Europe on August 15th. Well, I would take their natal chart, as you see here, I'm pointing on the left, and then put it in this inner circle. And the outer circle on your right side is the date that they are proposing to have an event or circumstance. On the other hand, we can evaluate past events or even possibilities of what may have occurred on a specific day by simply putting that date and event up. And you'll see there that is Saturday, July 13th, 6:15 p.m. in Butler, Pennsylvania. So in that outer circle is where the planets were in the various zodiacal signs. Say the sun was at 21 degrees, the sign Cancer at that time. Venus was at 2 degrees, Leo. So before I get into discussing what this all implies, I will discuss Donald Trump's chart briefly as to the implications. So if you've gone to my previous videos, such as Trump versus Biden character perspective, that's my video number one on the Trump versus Biden. You'll note I have an in-depth perspective on the karma and the potential expression, both positive or challenging, for Donald Trump based on his karma. So the birth chart is said to be this spiritual report card. So I'm not going to get into that now. I'm just going to get into taking a look here and noting that, see, Donald Trump's sun, North Node, and Uranus, planet Uranus, are all in the sign Gemini. There are 30 degrees per sign. Each degree within a sign has its own subtle symbolism. And the section of this chart, you'll see there are 1, 2 through 12 sections of the circle are what we call houses. And that tells us where in life that planetary symbol is meant to be expressed. Well, the sun is a calling for a person's self-actualization and identity expression. In the 10th house, that is the house of the most public and or political economic service that one can render to the world. So it's pretty obvious that when any, at least even amateur astrologer could see that Donald Trump is here to be a significant public political economic figure. And the Uranus conjunction to his sun sign implies that he tends to be very independent, strong-willed, progressive in his consciousness. I'm not saying that term in terms of liberal or Democrat or Republican, but Uranian people are revolutionary type of people. So Donald Trump is most certainly not someone who, let's say, accommodates the conventional mainstream of the world. And I'll also preface what I'm going to say here by noting that I am not taking any political bias here in my interpretations of Trump or Biden or even JFK Jr. I'm attempting to just give an objective perspective, as an astrologer does, on the interpretation of these symbols. So we will note as well, you see all these little triangles here, that uh, the planets in the sign Gemini implies that his fundamental calling in life is to be a prominent public communicator, and quite likely that associated with political and instructive directions for society. And to point out the fact that he has Jupiter in Libra, the sign Jupiter implies how he may expand or uh, be of service or promulgate a ministry to the world in Libra. That implies that he's inclined to do it through the media, through the arts, and as that's 17 degree, very likely in a political kind of activist orientation. And the trine implies that he has a very favorably uh, evolved karma, if you will, from his prior lifetimes in terms of confidence and forthright, almost kind of ministerial expression of um, providing his points of view. And also the fact that he was born in the year of the dog, 1946, in Chinese astrology. The year of the dog is quite common for public service, community activists, politicians, and or artists. And do you believe it's any coincidence that three of recent presidents of the United States are all born within a month of each other in 1946? Trump being born in June of 1946, George W. Bush born in July of 1946, and William Jefferson Clinton born in August of 1946. The fire dog. So people born in the year of the fire dog, fire, one of the five elements, could be metal, water, wood, earth, or fire, but a fire dog is a charismatic, outgoing, communicative, and potentially inspirational activist type politician. So, with that said, I'm not going to get into his hard karma here. I will say that I'm very saddened and heartbroken about the event that occurred on July 13th, especially the death of one gentleman and the serious wounding of two other bystanders. I will say this, that, and I thank God that Trump was spared and only marginally wounded. But I would say this from the spiritual point of view, that although Donald Trump has some hard karma, if you'll go to my video #1 about character for Biden and Trump, this triple trine here he has to Jupiter, I would say is meritorious and positive karma that probably shielded or saved him from serious wound or even death. Now, I'm going to point out here another aspect of his chart in his character, and that is that he has Mars in Leo, and Mars in Leo, you know, everything I say is confirmed from your experience observing Donald Trump. Mars in Leo is someone who asserts, and Mars is about how we express our passion, our sexual energy and creativity and direction towards assertiveness in life, as well as work and our inclination to be forthright in our identity in some way or another. And Donald Trump happens to have it in almost an exact conjunction with his rising sign or ascendant that's based on the time of his birth, which is also in Leo. So the rising sign is more your outer body, your physical appearance, and your outer character and personality as the public may experience it. So it's no clue or coincidence that Donald Trump is a Martian type personality. In other words, he is confident, aggressive, assertive, commanding, and Mars in Leo is dramatic, charismatic, inspirational from the points of view that he is inclined to promulgate. And he has that Mars favorably aspecting his sun sign as well. So he has a favorable karma of great charisma, assertive confidence in his authoritative and or ministerial service to society. Now, the dramatic question here is looking at the horoscope chart over here. So that's where we look at where the planets were on right at that time, Saturday, July 13th, 2024, 6:15 p.m. I'm pretty close to the time, even within 5 minutes, it wouldn't make much of a difference from the point of view of Butler, Pennsylvania. So at that moment, and from that location, this is where the planets were. The sun was at 21 degrees Cancer. Venus was at 2 degrees Leo. Mercury was at 17 degrees Leo. Saturn was at 19 degrees Pisces. Neptune was at 29 degrees Pisces. So, for example, if a child was born on Saturday, July 13th, 2024 at 6:15 p.m. in Butler, Pennsylvania, these outer planetary positions would be the planetary positions of that child's birth chart. Just like you see here from Donald Trump's point of view, his planets were frozen on the day, June 14th, 1946, etc. However, as I shared earlier, when we do a horoscope, we're looking at comparing these planetary positions in these outer circle here, and we're laying them out according to the layout of Donald Trump's birth chart. You see here 29 Leo, there's 29 Leo. There's Donald Trump's 26-degree Mars position there, right on the cusp of his ascendant. Now, in studying the charts of uh, assassinated politicians or those who have experienced violence, every planet has a higher, elevated, and positive, and even spiritual symbolism, and also a negative or low and possibly troublesome interpretation. So, first of all, we know that Donald Trump has been controversial as a personality. In fact, due to how aggressive and assertive he has been, and or even sometimes, you know, a little overly aggressive and teasingly name calling or putting someone down who might be in opposition. Now, you'll see here the planet Uranus at 26 degrees Taurus. Now, note, this is very simple, basic, amateur horoscope astrology. Note, Donald Trump's Mars position is at exactly 26 degrees Leo. Here it is here. There's Uranus up there at 26. And Taurus, with those who don't have experience, is in a 90 degree. That's why we have these squares here. Squares are adverse angles. So Uranus is at an adverse 90-degree angle to Mars. So how a professional astrologer interprets that is Uranus is symbolic of group activity, politics, organizational activism, humanitarian activism associated with society, groups, communities, political parties, organizations. So it's no coincidence that Donald Trump's Uranus at this time in his life, and by the way, Uranus goes through just one sign in the zodiac. It takes about 9 years to go through one sign. And so when it makes an angular connection, here we're talking about a 90-degree angle to a planet in a person's chart, it's often a once in a lifetime and profound experience. Uranus in the house of career, public service, politics, and effect on the world implies a time when someone is motivated and agitated or inclined to engage the world in a social, humanitarian, activist, political orientation. And yet, when it's in a square to Mars, and Mars is the energy of activism, positivity, assertiveness, character, uh, leadership, inspiration. But Mars is also symbolic if it's encountered in a negative context associated with anger, negative verbosity, violence or potential violence, lack of tactful and or moral behavior. It can even imply certain criminal proclivities. And when it's in this context, in a square, it implies a time. And when it's at this degree, it can remain at this degree around and are affecting his Mars for a week or two or even a month. And in itself portends uncertainty, unpredictability, potential conflicts associated with others of a political who have political differences and or sudden information or secret information coming to light that might not be true or could be true that suddenly disrupts the political campaign. So that in itself just implies this kind of disruptive, potentially negative, confrontational, and need for spontaneous change and direction in how one is asserting their political activity and direction. So that's the underlying energy, this Uranian. However, and this is where it comes to the point where he consulted myself or another skilled professional astrologer. You see, the planet Mars is at 25 degrees. We're talking about right on, that evening of July 13th. Now, when Mars is in a square in anyone's chart, and Mars goes around the chart, takes about a year and a half to go around a person's chart. It goes through the different signs. And, like the sun goes through a sign in 30, 31 days. Everyone's familiar with at least their sun sign, right? But Mars here at 25 degrees in a square to a person's Mars, regardless of who you are, uh, portends a time of potential serious, even potential violent ego clashes and clashes of will and or turbulence and difficulty in being compatible or in harmony with others or certain individuals and or an environment. Okay. For most people, this is an excellent energy to work alone on a project and channel your drive, your ego, your forcefulness, your creative energy into a project that doesn't require much cooperation from or even involvement with other people. Okay. However, let's put them together. So I've already talked about the potential disruptive effect of this once in a lifetime position of Uranus squaring his Mars, coupled with Mars itself with Uranus in a square to Mars. And that is a recipe for political violence and or a potential serious, unpredictable, uh, even undiscernible from wherever source, violence that could uh, erupt uh, and be potentially extremely dangerous or hazardous. This aspect sometimes can be a source of war that might start between countries with a Mars and a Mars Uranus square. So again, uh, anyone who had any knowledge, information, or counseling from an astrologer would not conduct a public political event on Saturday, July 13th. And in fact, not even on uh, days coming up. See, it's at 25 degrees, going to move to 26. So not even on Sunday or Monday. So that is how we look at a horoscope. Now, I'm going to bring up another chart just to show you uh, something regarding the Republican convention, which is coming up now and over the next few days. So now you will be seeing on the left side of the screen Thursday, July 18th in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And on the other side, I have Wednesday, July 31st, from the point of view of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So again, these are charts that are showing the exact planetary positions of the as they're laid out around Donald Trump's natal chart. So uh, what I'm trying to note here is Thursday, July 18th, 12 noon, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. That is roughly going to be the time, if not concluding, the Republican National Convention in which Trump is formally and fully nominated as the candidate for president of the country for the Republican Party. Uh, you'll see here, you may recall from the uh, chart, I'm going to bring that back here, of the assassination attempt, that Uranus is at 26 degrees Taurus here, and Uranus is still at 26 degrees Taurus at the end of the Republican convention. So, what I might describe about what potentially could occur for Donald Trump is that A, the assassination attempt, as Uranus in this context implies, uh, completely disrupted his whole point of view or even his acceptance speech for the nomination. And so, because the Uranus position will be retained here throughout the Republican convention. In fact, there may be even other events, not necessarily violent anymore, but just simply other events that can occur that might have subtle, aggressive, or challenging energetics that potentially disrupt the Republican convention. And right off the top, I can already speculate that there is going to be some serious demonstrations going on in Milwaukee by Democrats or others who disagree with the 2025 project proposal that the Republicans are basing their platform around. So beware, this does imply that he may experience uh, unexpected disruptions during this convention. Now, you'll note that Mars by Thursday is at 28 degrees. And 28 degrees, it's already past his Mars. So, the worst potential violence, especially towards him, is passed by today, Monday. But it still is in a square to his rising sign at 29 degrees Leo. So I certainly would advocate that he has very, very comprehensive Secret Service security protection going on throughout that convention. Quite frankly, it's pretty doubtful Republicans consult astrologers, but Donald Trump might because he has another dimension of consciousness. But had they consulted an astrologer, they would not have even done the convention this week, based on what I've talked about here. And the Mars square, even through Thursday up to Thursday, in terms of Donald Trump's ascendant character, personality, and physical well-being. So the point being that you'll see the planet Saturn at 19 degrees Pisces. And on July 31st, Saturn is going to be at 18 degrees Pisces, going retrograde. Now, Saturn is a very important planet for astrologers to look at in terms of the favorable or challenging political possibilities for a politician or a party or an individual. And Saturn is moving. You see here his natal Uranus is at 17 degrees Gemini. And Saturn is moving this way. It's going retrograde. I'll have to explain retrograde some other time, but it moves backwards and forwards through a zodiacal sign by, as many as 10 degrees or so. And so by the end of it's moving back, by the end of July, it's at 18 degrees. It's even going to get even closer to 17 degrees into August. And so that square to his Uranus does imply some degree of political, if not legal, challenges that he may still have to grapple with in terms of being able to um, make incremental progress in his political efforts for his candidacy and success by November 5th. Now, if you go back to my videos on the election, I have part 1, 2, and 3. Uh, you'll have an exposition that I show that Joe Biden actually has much more favorable positions of the planets on November 5th of 2024 than Donald Trump does, which is not an absolute predictor again, but it certainly lends towards a more favorable outcome, given what I see here with these challenges of Saturn towards his Uranus position, that of being able to make political progress, while Saturn is associated with challenge, difficulty, or restriction in regards to that direction. Lastly, what I'll say is this. Donald Trump is born in the Chinese year of the dog. And I have studied Chinese astrology, Western astrology, Vedic astrology, the ancient Hebrew Kabbalah. And in Chinese astrology, of the 12 Chinese years, the year that is considered most challenging, possibly limiting or difficult, but not possible to transcend, but certainly challenging and quite difficult, is the year of the dragon. And guess what year we are in right now? This is the Chinese year of the wood dragon. And what does fire do to wood? He's a fire dog. Fire burns wood. And the dragon gobbles the dog. So not an easy or favorable year for anyone born in the year of the dog. So I use that as another small element in predictive possibilities for an individual. Now, my next video will be on the challenging turmoil associated with Joe Biden and some of his gaffes, as well as dismal debate performance in the past few weeks. So I look forward to that video coming up and how the planet Uranus is actually challenging and adversely affecting Joe Biden as well. So thank you all for participating in this presentation, and I encourage you to click the like button if you got something beneficial from this. And please do subscribe to my YouTube channel, Altazar Astrology. And I look forward to hearing from any of you who want to take advantage of the free introductory astrology reading and determine if that might offer some insights in terms of your life cycle right now, or even the potential for your life purpose.